Hello to everybody at Ringier, Axel Springer, and welcome to this introduction to NewsWhip. Some background about NewsWhip, and then we will look at the technology and applications for newsrooms. So, first, we are funded or initially working with the Associated Press, who is an investor in NewsWhip, and everybody from the New York Times to Al Jazeera is using our technology to understand what stories will be most popular in the future. The data that we look at is web content. We have partnerships with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Snapchat, and in the next month, Reddit. What we're going to look at today is first our predictive monitoring, then how we can monitor web, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at the same time. Then we'll look at automation through alerts, and finally, our reporting. So to begin with predictive monitoring, here I have created a dashboard for Poland. We're looking at all the content in Poland that is trending across web, social. Now, let's look at web content to understand predictive monitoring. So if we look maybe at the last 6 hours to see what's trending now, we can see here that we're measuring web article content with social engagement data. So what does that mean? We're measuring this web article with the likes, comments, and shares from Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and soon Reddit. But we can predict where that story will be in the next few hours. And we can do that with 80% probability, so 10% above or below the number we predict. How are newsrooms using this? Well, first thing in the morning, they will look at these stories to understand what stories are most popular today, what will audiences share, comment, like most. So this prediction allows us to understand what stories will be most popular today in the next 24 hours. So we can look at just web to see what's predicted to be big. We can look at Facebook. We can even look at different topics. For example, if we wanted to look at sports more specifically, we could look at 140 different types of topics to see sport, politics, business, tech, entertainment, to quickly see what stories are most popular for different topics. Now we can also look at different keywords. So for example here, if we wanted to see any mention of the president, we can look at the stories here to see again what's predicted to be most popular. So for example here, we can see the stories that will be most popular in the future and by how much. So now that's predictive monitoring and looking at multiple platforms at the same time. So if we want to automate this process so you can receive breaking news, but also a review of all the most important stories first thing in the morning, we can create alerts for these different searches. So for example, if we wanted to create an alert for mentions of the president, we can create an alert in two ways. First is real time. We can send notifications about popular articles, any articles, or even say, I only want to know when a story will be more than 5,000 engagements. And again, this uses our prediction. So for example, maybe the story is at 100 engagements now, but we know in the future it will be more than 5,000. We'll send an alert immediately. Even when the story is at 500 engagements and only 1 hour old, we'll send that alert immediately. Or you can have a review of the top, best, most performing stories delivered to your email at 8 a.m. or whatever time, or every few hours. And this will give you a list of all your stories for this search. So that is how we automate the monitoring process. We can create alerts for any of these web articles, Facebook posts, or anything like this. But I want to look at CrowdTangle quickly. Now, obviously, many newsrooms are familiar with CrowdTangle because they use it a lot. It's free. It's a good tool. It's for Facebook. But let's look at the difference. So obviously prediction is a massive thing. Now we can give you a much clearer view as to what will perform best. But think about it. CrowdTangle is only Facebook content. We're giving you web articles. So first, this is much quicker. NewsWhip finds a story 90 seconds after publication. Because first, it goes to web. Then it goes to Facebook. Second, the data. Now, let's look, for example, here at how many articles or how many interactions this article has received. 3.2, and that's with the website. So let's look at all the different engagements this web article has received. Now, Business Insider shared to their Facebook page 247. 247 against 3.2. So let's look at this in CrowdTangle view, because they only give you Facebook. So in CrowdTangle, you will see the share from the Facebook page. And again, it's 247. This is what you see in CrowdTangle. You only see the share from the Facebook page, whereas with NewsWhip, you see the web article. So 100% of the Facebook engagement and Twitter engagement with this article you see in NewsWhip, 3.2. But in CrowdTangle, you only see a really small part of that. Why is that important? Well, first, not every story is published to Facebook. Every story is published to website. Second, you're seeing way more data. So for example, if we're looking at reporting, which is the final piece, we want to benchmark our performance against publishers. I mean, using CrowdTangle, you have 10% of the big picture. So let's look at reporting. Here, we can see all of 2020 for our websites, and we can look at the content to see what stories were most successful. We can show you the web content or native Facebook content like CrowdTangle, and you can see these are massive numbers. With CrowdTangle, very, very small piece of engagement. You can look at the timelines, again, look closer if you want to see what stories were performing best here. And importantly, you can automate these reports. So for example, if you want to schedule a report each week, maybe on a Monday at 8 a.m., delivered to my inbox, and I also want Josh at newswhip.com on these emails as well, you can. And we'll show you the top stories, Facebook engagement, Twitter engagement, and competitor popular stories here for a really quick review of the week, month, year, whatever. So for measurement, I mean, measure your web content with social data for an accurate competitive benchmark, and then the predictive monitoring, which is huge. So this gives you a lot more intelligence, a lot more data, a lot more speed. You can automate this process. You can see across multiple platforms, and this is just a simple tool to use. You can create these searches really easily if you want to say, I want to see Duda across all different platforms, any mentions. You can see here how quick that is to create a search. So anything you want to make, super simple. All the alerts are completely automatic, and the analysis for keywords, Facebook pages, websites, really easy as well. That's everything. If there is more questions, please email me. If you would be interested to learn more, we can arrange a demonstration and access to the technology. But for now, thank you very much for your time.